guessed it already. Today we're talking rubbish. Okay, stop. Now you might find it hard to believe, but this is the amount of rubbish that an average family throws away in 1 year. 1 tonne of it. And together, all the families in Britain throw away enough rubbish to fill Wembley Stadium 112 times, roughly speaking.
But what's in all this rubbish? Well, the largest part of it is made up of paper and cardboard. Then there's huge amounts of glass, loads of plastic, masses of metal, and the rest of it is made up of fibres, things like rags and dust. And most of that is thrown into holes in the ground. What a waste!
Adrian, what do you think you're doing?
Well, you're sorting out all the rubbish, aren't you?
No, actually I'm bagging up. I've just finished clearing up.
Well, didn't you realise there's a lot more you can do with your rubbish than just throw it away?
Okay, well, let's have a look. What have you got? Oh, gosh, this is a bit clean. This is a bit of a designer bin, isn't it? I mean, where's all the smelly bits? Where's all the old food and the banana skins?
Well, I don't eat them, if that's what you're saying. In fact, I made your job a lot easier.
Thank you. The job I didn't know I had, actually.
Well, you see, the thing is, the dog gets all the meat bits, and also the garden gets all the vegetable leftovers. Well, it's better than leaving inside this old bin to rot.
Or worse still, in the fruit bowl.
Gardeners dig compost into the soil to enrich it with goodness. A year earlier, this brown-looking muck was a heap of rotting vegetation. But where there's muck, there's magic. One way of making a compost heap is to build it up in layers. All vegetation is welcome, from weeds to kitchen waste. The rotting starts almost at once. All plants carry invisible bacteria with them to the heap. These tiny living things double in number every 20 minutes, and as they feed on the plants, they make heat. Then it's the turn of the fungus and moulds to break down the plants, followed by munching worms and woodlice. But this lot, they're just visiting. The result? Recycled goodness. If you've got a big garden, that's one place to make a compost heap. But here's something you could try indoors. Now, you can feed these beauties almost anything. And what will they give you? Compost. This is because these wonderworms work very fast and they're very efficient compost makers. But they're only available from special suppliers. However, don't use them on anything that might attract rats and vermin like old meat. You can try them on some old vegetable peelings. Put some in there. Ooh. Perhaps you'd like to try them on some newspaper or bits of cardboard. Try them on some grass clippings. Push them right down deep. And even, you might like to try them on some old vacuum cleaner dust. Mix them all in there. That's lovely. Then leave the wonderworms to work for a few weeks, and hopefully you've made some wonderful compost like this. Now here's a plant pot with some vacuum cleaner dust compost in it. I'm going to plant my bulb in there. See if you can find out which is the best for growing things in. Hey, what are you two doing?
Well, we're sorting the cans. It's aluminium.
See, a lot of energy goes into making these cans, and you're just throwing them away.
Oh, sorry. Can I have a go?
Oh, yeah, like that.
Thanks.
Steel.
Steel.
Aluminium.
Steel.
You can take the rest of your rubbish to a recycling centre. They're all over the place, often outside supermarkets, so you can drop stuff off when you go shopping. Ah, now this is near Sheffield, where they come round to your house to collect things which can be recycled. They give you a blue box to put it all in. They separate out all the things from your blue box by hand. and put them into different parts of the van. And then they take it away to be recycled.
It's crude oil, one of the Earth's most valuable resources, and if you had a lot of it, you'd be a doggone millionaire. But the trouble is, the world's running out of it, because it's used to make a lot of things, including plastic. A small amount of crude oil can make a lot of plastic bottles. Unfortunately, we can't turn these back into this, but plastic can be recycled. But this lot needs to be sorted. I've got an idea.
Where did this come from?
No idea. Hey, look. Drinks. Fancy drinks?
Yeah.
Whoa! Oh! Hey! What's happened?
I don't know.
Where's it all gone?
Where'd it go?
Hey, you two, I bet you didn't even realise all that furniture was made out of recycled plastic. And before you can enjoy the comforts of it, I'm afraid you're going to have to do a little bit of work.
Oh.
Have you guessed it?
No.
Well, this little mountain has to be sorted.
What, all of that?
Yep.
Hang on. There's nothing to be sorted. It's all plastic.
Ah, well, you see, take these two bottles. They might look the same, but they're probably made out of different sorts of plastic.
Okay, so how can we tell?
Well, it's actually very difficult, but sorting them into colours is a good start.
But why colours?
Well, because similar colours often mean the same sort of plastic. So, I think we ought to get started, don't you?
Ever wondered what happens to all that waste paper? Well, a lot of it ends up here at the paper mill in Ramsbottom, Lancashire. Here they use only good quality paper, from computer printouts to magazines, not newspapers. Step 1. Chop the paper up into tiny bits. This machine is like a big liquidizer. The paper is turned into pulp by dropping it into a tank of hot water and mashing it up. Big bits of paper are separated out. And the liquid with the really small bits in it goes on to the next stage. Step 2 then. It's sprayed onto a roller so that it makes a thin sheet of wet paper 3.5 metres wide. And step 3, it's then got to be dried, so it's heated and pressed around a great big revolving drum. The result? Very soft tissue paper. Any idea what this is going to be? Things are made from recycled paper, like this lot. Cornflakes. I think they must mean the packet. You can make your own recycled paper from old newspapers. Now you can either buy your own paper making kit, like this one, complete with instructions, or you can make your own. I've made a round one for round paper, and I've used a pair of tights for my base. Right, there are 3 important stages to paper making. First of all, you've got to find a really good way of mashing the newspaper up. I've been at this with my spoon. Now, it's not quite ready, this one, because you can see the bits are a bit too big. In fact, this one's got a long way to go. It's been soaking for about, 2 or 3 hours. You could use hot water, perhaps. But whatever you choose to use, this is what it needs to look like to go on to the next step. The mashier, the better. See? Nice thin bits there. So, step 2, you've got to find a thin, layer of paper in the shape and size of your frame. And this is how I've done it. See, like that. Now, I couldn't write in that really, so that brings me to the next step. You have to go from this stage to step 3. You have to find a really good way of drying the paper and as well of making it nice and smooth. Some paper has to be tested for strength. Recycled toilet paper is a classic example of that, for obvious reasons. Perhaps you could try finding a way of testing your recycled paper for strength. And why not go on to making coloured paper, like these here? Or even, why not make some embossed paper? This is a nice example with the SOS symbol there. That was done with a bit of plastic, but I got some other tools for embossing. Bits of Lego even would be good. And why not make your own watermark on paper? I used the SOS symbol again. Now, you can see the light shines through the SOS symbol much easier. I wonder why that is.
Hey, Ellen, you know, after all that Carmen's been saying about this recycling lark, I don't think she lifts a finger to recycle anything.
Yep, and by the look of things, she does her own fair share of filling up landfill sites. Look, everything she eats comes in a packet.
Aha! Talking about my packet? Well, you're going to have to eat your words because where I live, they've got a different way of dealing with rubbish. This is the main waste depot in Sheffield, which deals with 2,300 tonnes of rubbish every week. Even though lots of waste is recycled in Sheffield, most of it ends up here. Most places in Britain are still burying their waste, but here they burn it. The great advantage of burning waste is that there's very little to bury afterwards. But gases given off can create problems in the atmosphere. And this is what comes out of the bottom of the incinerator. A magnet separates out all the iron and steel, which is then recycled. And all that's left is ash and aluminium. But in this process, these can't be separated, so they're buried. But what happens to all the valuable heat that's produced? It's used to heat water, which is kept in a boiler above the incinerator. A pipe carries the steam which is formed from the water to the top of the building. From here, hot water is pumped to all the surrounding buildings, where it's used in the central heating systems. It saves valuable resources of gas and oil, as well as money on gas and electricity bills. In my city, Nottingham, they also burn their rubbish, but they use the heat to make electricity. Well, I think we've dealt with every kind of household waste now.
Oh, no, you haven't. How about that then? If you live in a town, when you flush the toilet or empty the bath, the waste goes down the drain and into the sewers. There, it mixes with wastewater from streets and factories. And it ends up here at a sewage treatment works. This is the high-tech sewage treatment works in Penabont in South Wales, where getting goodness from Gunge starts with these huge screws which lift the sewage up to the highest point and into the works. The next step is to get rid of any of the bits of rag or whatever that might clog up the machinery. Anyone for tennis? In this next tank, the sewage flows more slowly so that the grit can settle. And that grit will be scraped off the bottom by these arms. In this next tank, the sewage is trapped again. This time, all the heavy muck sinks. I think we'll come back to that later. What about the clear liquid? liquid that comes off. It looks clean, but it's still full of poisons. So billions of bacteria are added, and the whole lot is stirred around with loads of air, encouraging the bacteria to feed on it and make it safer. Last stop then, to settle out the bacteria and any other bits, and then it's into the river. Yes, very pretty. But what about all that nasty sludge we saw earlier on? In some cases it's put out to sea, but obviously that's not a very good idea. Here though, it's put into tanks where a different kind of bacteria tuck in. Bacteria usually have a bad name, but in this case, what would we do without them? Whew. And when they've done their bit, this stuff is good enough to be used as fertiliser. Brilliant. That's what I call flushed with success.
Okay, here's a challenge. Can you make a sorter that will separate out 4 different materials? Watch this.
Ha ha, very funny. Can you get on with it?
Don't worry, I'll sort you out in a minute.
Carmen?
Yeah?
Got it all sorted. What are you going to do with these?
Well...